Joining me now is National Affairs contributor for The Grio, Dr. Nii Quarterly-Quartey. Nii Quarterly, welcome back to the Sunday Show.
Thank you, Jonathan. Happy to be here.
All right, so you recently wrote about Florida's policies that target African Americans and the LGBT community. Why is it so important for the country to focus on what's happening in Florida right now?
It's so important that the country really has a laser focus on Florida because Florida is really the canary in the coal mine. If Governor DeSantis and Republicans in Florida are successful in advancing their anti-woke agenda, their anti-LGBTQ agenda, dare I say their U.S. apartheid agenda, we can expect to see some really dark days ahead. The Don't Say Gay bill and the Stay Woke Act together really represent an existential crisis for people that are both Black and LGBTQ, folks that live at that intersection. We're talking about a double whammy here. And we cannot allow this to happen on our watch. U.S. Senate Democrats can't allow this to happen on their watch. What's the purpose of power if we don't use it? U.S. Senate Democrats right now have the power to pass the Equality Act and, quite frankly, the power to make the president's executive order on racial equity a law.
Okay, but come on, you are a student of politics. You've been in politics. You know, one, that this stuff plays well to the GOP base. It's better to make people angry and frightened than to actually pass laws that help everybody. But the other thing is I hear you on, Congress, and particularly the Senate, passing the Equality Act, but it is a 50-50 Senate. Isn't the solution to elect more Democrats to the Senate so that the Democratic majority is not beholden to two senators in particular?
I think it's all of the above. I think we've got to work the Senate as it is. I think we've got to elect senators, both Republicans and Democrats, that are willing to unapologetically support equality. We're talking about equality. Just like we were talking about voting rights. Somehow, some way, we've gotten off the rails here. And so, the fact that trailblazers like you, Jonathan, trailblazers like Malcolm Kenyatta, who's running for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania, people like Karine Jean-Pierre, Deputy White House Press Secretary, the fact that our stories one day in places like Florida and other places across the country, could be erased from curriculum, should be shocking to folks. We do not want to live in an America where it's okay to erase the contributions of our fellow Americans, whether they're Black, LGBTQ, or anybody else.
You are very kind to call me a trailblazer. But Nii Quarterly, in addition to the noxious Don't Say Gay law in Florida, we see lots of anti-trans legislation, shocking anti-trans legislation being passed around the country. For Democrats or progressives or just everyday Americans who just want things to be fair for everyone, how can they push back either from an activist perspective or even a rhetorical perspective against these efforts to belittle our fellow Americans?
I think the one thing that we can all do is really take a stand against the erasure that's taking place. And so I'll give you an example. U.S. Senator from Florida, Senator Rick Scott, and the GOP have gotten behind this Rescue America agenda. That's what they're calling it. And two of the planks in the agenda include getting the government out of the business of collecting data based upon race and ethnicity, and also getting the government out of the business of collecting data based upon sexual orientation and gender identity. I've said this before, I'll say it again, no data, no justice. When we're not present in data, when we're not a part of the census, it makes it very easy for the other side to pretend that we don't exist and really craft a government and government policies that reflect that reflect an erasure of who we are. And so I think that's something that we can all do right now, people in the government, people in the private sector, and everything in between.
I like that. No data, no justice, because also the other thing is if you don't exist on these tables, then you don't exist to the folks on Capitol Hill who are crafting budgets for your states and for your communities.